Now we'll move on to the next speaker, who would also be touching on a very interesting topic. I mean, when I saw the topic, I was just smiling. So the topic is marriage is not expensive. I don't know whether you agree with me or otherwise, but marriage is not expensive. It's the parties that make it costly. And to help us do this, please, let's give a round of applause to Joyce Attafuah to do this. Welcome, ma'am.
I pray the witches of my hometown don't appear here. Madam Chairwoman, my Lord, I also stand on all of this. I believe that this topic was assigned to me because of my core belief that you can marry right, but still marry elegantly and not extravagantly. But it all depends on you. I think we've had a lot taught or lectured on marriages, different types of marriages. They started from ordinance, from Madam Chairman's remarks. They've taken us through the types of marriages, customary law, Mohammedan, which I'm going to change my language now and move to Islamic, and then the different types of ordinance marriages that we have. Look at me, don't look at the lecture. Until yesterday, I didn't know it was a 10-minute presentation. So me, I sat down and 84 slides. Now I sat here, reduced it to 56, and we just sat down and I've also reduced it to 19. So look at me and let's talk. I think what the biggest thing that has not been answered is how much does it cost in all these marriages? Which one are you choosing? And how much will it cost you? When you look at the customary law marriage, okay. When you look at a customary law marriage, what does it require? Let's take different customs. If you come to my background, which is the Ashanti custom, the core traditional requirement is just aseda. So if you see a young woman and you are interested in the young woman, your father, with maybe your uncle, a few family members will send a proposal to the woman's family. If the proposal is accepted, then they give aseda. The aseda can be in the form of palm wine. It can be in the form of a token. It can be in the form of money. Anything that is accepted. Once the father of the bride takes the money, then he will decide to give a little to the uncles, some to the brothers, but it is not compulsory to pay this akonta sekai and all that. If you come to the gas state where I've lived for a long time, the core thing is knocking, and it's 2 bottles of rum or wine. You can also add a token, and that you go ahead to do the dowry, and traditionally it's 15 pounds. If you multiply 15 pounds by the current foreign forex rate, even if you make it 30, 15 times 30, that's 450 Ghana. And that is complete. If you go to my uncles at the other side, the Everland, you sample across, it will not cost you more than 300 Ghana traditionally to get married. We have decided that when we get married, we'll go ahead and have them registered, right? So if you marry under customary law, you want to go and register it. How much does it cost? We have sampled, I think my PA is here. I pretended to be the mother of the bride, and we went around most of the assemblies, basically asking them how much it will cost. And it ranges between 110 and 270 Ghana cedis to register your customary law marriage. Under Mohammedan, there were 2. There was one, the Nika, that will cost you about, when you go and register within the 7 days, will cost you at most 300 Ghana. You can also go to the mosque, they issue a certificate there, and that will cost you at most around the country, the most expensive of 410 Ghana. So if you look at it, is marriage cheap or not? I want an answer. We are tired, let's talk. Is marriage cheap or not? Why is it cheap? So we finish all this, and you can marry under customary law and still call yourself Mrs. Nobody will stop you. But for I don't want to say Gen Z because most of you are above that age bracket. For the young man, the young woman, you want to also let your peers know that, yes, it is my time and I've also arrived. So you decide that you want to marry under ordinance. Yes, you can marry under ordinance, but there are different forms. You can just walk to the Registrar General's office, go get the form, and that form is free. Registrar General, the form that you buy to fill out, to notify the whole world, is free. I met somebody and I spoke to that I didn't even know works with MarryRight. And then in the conversation last Friday night, we were talking about how much you pay to have your marriage registered at the Registrar General. She had done a comprehensive research, and of all the regions, the least was 310. Accra, Greater Accra is 595 Ghana cedis, and Takoradi is the most expensive, and it's 600 Ghana. If you move to your church one, you can give notice, wear your white dress, go with your husband Sunday after the bans have been published, as my sister said. Just go there, they will pray for you, you exchange your rings, they pray, and then if you have some small chops, you share, and then you go home. You can manage that cost. If you decide to do the special license, that is the cocoa. Because that one, I would advise my sons to try that one. No notice, no bans. If you have some cobwebs in your wardrobe, nobody will know. Special, small place, you go and sit there, you do your wedding. You can decide not to invite anybody apart from the witnesses, and then you move. The question is, what do we see now? And that is why I said I wanted it to be interactive. I have only 10 minutes. What do we see now? Now, we go in, and the first thing that we even pay for are bloggers. The moment you set your date, then he's looking for bloggers so that the wedding will trend. How much does it cost? Then you choose your hashtag. So that is where we are going to launch into what we have brought upon ourselves. So you start by your dress. This small customary marriage that you can do, have it, get up and go. The first thing you're talking about for my ladies is the kente dress, right? Then they snatch you in. Unfortunately, we have big stomachs, so we cannot do that. Apart from buying the kente, which the price is between 700 and sometimes 8,000. If you bid it, you are looking at 13,000. I have colleagues, daughters, who will fly all the way to Dubai to have their kente beaded for their engagement. How much does it cost to sew the snatched ones, not the ordinary ones? It's between about 2,500, 7,000, just your dress for the customary marriage alone. Let's look at the things that we've now added. So the suitcase, the rings, and if you we went to PMMC and a few jewelry shops, your simple ring, you should be looking at 4,000 if you want a 14-karat gold. And if you add zirconi, the stones, you are moving towards 7,000. The moment you introduce diamond rings, you can go up to 50,000. The groom will now have I won't talk about the bridesmaids for the customary marriage. The groom will have about 12 friends following him, all in same attire. You see, we don't cost those things because most of the time our friends will, oh, my time is up. We'll finish soon. You don't cost those things because most of the time your friends will pay for them. You go through that ceremony and look at the man hours. You have 200 people at the ceremony. Each one, and they do it on weekdays. So we leave work, we come and sit there. And if each of us spends just 3 hours, multiply it by 200, and see how employers are suffering. Then you finish the ceremony. I'll leave. I don't want to go into the details. You will regret going through that. Then you want to also go and do wedding. The wedding, just put it together and let's see. You know, bridesmaids, flower girls, little bride and groom. I hope they will share the slides with you. I just want to do an overview. And if you put all that together, you will run into a minimum. I'm not talking about those whose parents can afford. I'm talking about you and your spouse sitting down, planning, and paying for your wedding. If you go through that and you use on the average 200 people, you should be looking at between 75 and 150,000. I did a quick sample of venues in Accra and how much they charge after the wedding. But before you get to the reception, you know what do you guys do to us? I'm talking to the young ones. The wedding will be at the church at Obojo. Then he will let us drive to conference center for the reception. If the 200 people, we all use 2 gallons of fuel, multiplied by 200. Now, if you pick Kempinski, because these were places that I went there personally, they are going to charge you $825 per person, and the minimum must be 150 people. That is their happily ever package. If you choose the love story package, you are paying $698 per person. If you choose Cheddar Garden package, you pay $31,000 just for the space. Then you can buy the food. We called Safari Valley. They charge for 200 people. You are going to pay $239,000 just for the food. They'll give you food, the accommodation for 4 people, and then the decor is $40,000. Tank Palace, they will charge you $3,200 for 90 people. Multiply that by 16 with your phone. You see weddings at Labadi Beach? Yes. That one, if you do indoor, it is $6,000. Then in addition, you pay for food and drinks for between $65 and $120 per person. But it's negotiable, so there's good news there. There's Red Carpet Event Center, East Legon. It's cheaper on weekdays, but on weekends, it's very expensive. They have listed how many guests, and I want you to call them and find out. I also went to a venue at Spintex, and the minimum number is 150, and for just seating, cutlery, crockery, 38,000. I have about 15 of them, but I'll end with Accra Marriott, where it's $80 per person if you hold your reception there for the ordinary My Hometown Agogo Girl selection. If you do silver, it is $95 per person. If you do gold, it's $125 per person. So multiply that by even 15.5. And then they have their Savannah Tea Party and Royal Senche, $45, $60 per person. Is it worth it? So what can you do? I will always, a quick story about myself, and we can continue this conversation, and I'm happy if we could come back. When I was getting married, I had attended my friend's engagement, wedding. I went to my dad for a list, and my dad said, I'm not selling my daughter. So I'm taking, this was 1999, 50 Ghana, a bottle of schnapps for my family members, and then 2 bottles of communion wine for my church. I cried like a baby because I also wanted a suitcase. I wanted a cloth. I wanted a sewing machine. I had gauged the things to say that after this marriage. So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. My dad stood his grounds. And so they took just that. Nothing, no aqua. I still have my videos. I came to Accra to set a wedding date. And my husband said, we are not going to do what other people are doing. I said, what? He said, no, we will not even marry on a weekend. We'll marry on a weekday. So I said, why can't we save that money for something better? Why can't we save money so that after the wedding we can change our cars? Why can't we save money so that we can invest in our children's education now? I went to my counselors. I went to everybody. That one too didn't work. So on a Friday morning, 8 o'clock at Ridge Church, I dressed up, no flower girls, nothing. I was not too happy. But I loved him, so I went there. Borrowed, and listen to me, borrowed my auntie's car. He brought his car. By 10 o'clock, we got Reverend Otabel, we were done. By 11, people were now coming to the church. Just at the Ridge Church grounds, we had our reception. And then a week after, then I had my new car. A week after, we walked to Enterprise. He invested in my unborn children's education. That was when I started telling people, and I think Dennis gave me this topic because we've spoken about it a lot. We were colleagues. So I've told myself that it is my mission to tell the up-and-coming young men and women that this year I would have been married for, December will be my 25th anniversary. Now I can afford to rent any venue. I can afford to wear the snatched. I can afford to have 12 bridesmaids. I can afford to do anything. So please, I have the slides. They will give it to you. But MarryRight, my younger sister, marry elegantly because it will bring, you can still be elegant, honor and some pride to your family. But whichever type of marriage you decide to go along with, make sure that you don't create debt before you get in there. And you know how you can do that? Forget about the flower girls. Ask your friend. Go to church. Forget about all these pawpaw. Forget. You see the decor now? Some of the decors about 180,000. And that 180,000, if you go to 233 apartment, it can pay a deposit for Airbnb. And don't go and rent cars so that people will know that you came with 10 Mercedes and Range Rovers. Your uncle, your friend, your boss will have a decent car. Go for that one. If you can do the reception at a church venue, do that one. Nobody will come and ask you why you married that way. So I will say that, and I'm looking at only the young ones. As for the older ones, we are yatra cross. I'm looking at the young men and the young women just to tell you that this, I wish I had time to just take them one by one, but not to shock your system too much, that you can marry elegantly and still marry cheaply. Thank you.